Right, good morning, everyone. Well, actually, it's good morning if you're watching from where my class is today, from Ontario, Canada. Hello, Mrs. Clemens' class, if you guys can just give me a wave. Great. Now, it's afternoon here. I am reporting from Cape Town, South Africa. My name is Tamlin Hardy, and I'm the Education Manager for SANCCOB. Over here on my lap, this is Princess. Hello. Princess is an endangered, ooh, bless you. Don't worry, penguins sneeze all the time. It's not a problem. They drink salt water and they sneeze out the salt. So don't worry, she's not sick or anything. So this is Princess. Princess is an endangered African penguin. And she is one of our permanent residences here at the SANCCOB facility in Cape Town. Now, there are many things that bug Princess. She's a very fussy girl. She's actually our spokesmodel, you know. She's the one on our posters and our Christmas cards and things like that. So she's very, very fussy. But nothing really bugs Princess more than plastic pollution. And the lesson today is actually going to be about plastic pollution. And I'm going to show you some real cases of plastic pollution that have come in at SANCCOB, because I think we hear about plastic pollution and you think, oh, you know, is this really that much of a problem? Does it actually affect as many animals as people say it does, or is this just being blown out of proportion? So the whole reason why I want to talk about plastic pollution is because of this thing right here. So I'm going to share my screen so you can see what I see. Ooh. Now this thing here, you might have heard of this as the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, and I'm talking about this one here that says North Pacific Gyre in it. Now, there are actually 5 of these plastic patches in the ocean, so it's not that there's just this one giant patch, but the one that everyone calls the North Pacific Garbage Patch is the largest one out of all of them, and it's supposed to be about 2 times, 3 times the size of Texas, actually. Now, what's interesting is it's not a solid mass of plastic. It'll actually look like completely normal ocean. And if you are out by the ocean and you look out at the sea, that is what it'll look like. You don't see stuff floating in the water. There aren't bottles and all these things floating around. There are actually tiny pieces of microscopic plastic in the water, about 100 million tons worth of plastic, just in that one little spot over there. So today we're going to talk about where all this plastic comes from and some actual cases that we've had at SANCCOB. Now, the first thing is we do have issues with cable ties and loops from plastic. Now, box bands and other loops formed by rubbish can end up entangling land and sea animals to the point where they are slowly strangled to death. Make sure all loop trash is cut before disposal. And if you can recycle it, that would be great. Otherwise, you are essentially throwing a noose into the environment. So looking at this, I've actually got 2 pictures of actual cases that we've dealt with here. The first is a Cape Cormorant. Now, the Cape Cormorant is endangered. They've got they're beautiful black birds, and they've got a little bit of yellow at the bottom of the beak and these bright blue eyes. And this cormorant actually wound up getting a plastic ring in its mouth and then over its head. Now, luckily, he came into the center before he starved to death, and we managed to cut it away and fatten him up. But this is a case where we weren't as lucky. The next one here, this is an African penguin where the same thing has happened. He has tried to bite into a loop of plastic, and unfortunately, it's gotten caught over his head. Now, what's very worrying about this is that that plastic is actually completely blocking the passageway for food to enter the penguin. So this guy isn't going to be able to eat at all. And what's even more concerning is you can see he's in the ocean. He's not at our facility. So trying to catch this bird would be very, very difficult. Something else with plastic pollution is that straws suck, and they really, really do. And I actually didn't know that straws were this bad until I started working here. Now, straws are one of the most common rubbish items found on our beaches. Much like plastic bags, straws are often swallowed by marine creatures, resulting in blockages, which ultimately cause death. Refuse this luxury item next time you buy a cool drink or a milkshake. You'll be surprised at how unnecessary it is. So next time you go to the McDonald's or something like that and they offer you a straw with your drink, rather just don't take it, because straws are troublesome for reasons like this. Now here we had a cormorant that had swallowed a straw, and you can see in the second picture here that we actually had to cut into the neck of the cormorant and remove it out of the side. We couldn't just go down its mouth and remove it, or down the throat and remove it, and that's how deep down the straw was. So we had to remove it out that way. And luckily we were able to save this bird. Now, what's interesting about straws is that a lot of people don't realize that there are many recycling plants that can't recycle straws. And this is because straws can be made out of type 2 or type 5 plastic. And because the straws are so small, they never indicate with the little triangle what type of plastic it is. So for many recycling plants, they actually wind up not recycling straws and just throwing them away because they're not sure which of the plastics they're made out of. So unless you have a recycling plant where they can work with both type 2 and 5 plastics, then you're going to have an issue. So even if you do throw away your straws, keep in mind that not all countries and certainly not all cities are able to actually recycle straws so that they can be used for something else. Next is definitely a huge issue, and for you guys that are watching in North America, it's definitely an issue that happens more in the northern hemisphere than it does here in the southern hemisphere, is using bottles. Now, 1,500 plastic bottles wind up in the ocean every second. And South African tap water, but obviously I'm just talking about where I live, is actually very safe to drink and amongst the best in the world. Often bottled water is no different from tap water. Bottled water is expensive due to the apparent convenience, and the result is just more unnecessary plastic waste that ends up in the environment. Keep a reusable bottle handy and fill it up with tap water or at a water cooler. Now here I want to talk about this little guy, and he came into the center not too long ago. He was here about a month ago, and this bird, this is called a giant blue petrel. They're really, really beautiful birds. They've got lovely personalities, and this guy wound up dying because he swallowed a single bottle cap. And I'm actually going to take the picture off of him, and I'll stop sharing so I can look at you guys while I tell you the story. There we go. So this poor petrel wound up dying because he swallowed one bottle cap, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. Such a no, no. Sorry, she's playing with the bottle cap. It's kind of crazy if you think about it, that such a big, beautiful bird can be taken down by such a little thing. And what happened was when he swallowed the bottle cap, it lodged at the bottom of his stomach, and then this stopped food from moving from his stomach to the rest of his intestines. So basically what happened is this bird slowly starved to death over many days, and it must have been a very painful way to die. Now here at SANCCOB, we're lucky that we have an X-ray. So we did X-ray him, and we saw in his stomach that there was a blockage. There was something there. So we gave him medicine to help move along. But obviously, medicine isn't going to move plastic out of your system. So unfortunately, there was nothing that we could do. And it was only after this bird had died and we performed post-mortem that we saw that he died because he'd swallowed plastic. And I wish I could say that this is an isolated case and it, almost never happens, but it's not true. We get tons of cases in where plastic pollution has caused problems for these birds. Our princess is getting up because she's so mad about it. So guys, if you do use plastic, because I understand plastic is in everything, plastic is in our cell phones, our clothing that we wear, because nylon is a type of plastic. I understand that plastic is everywhere. And I'm not saying never use plastic again, because that's very difficult to do. But if you do use plastic, you should really consider recycling it, especially if you live in a city or if you live in a part of the world where it's easy to get recyclable materials out to recycling plants. So certainly, if you are using things like plastic bags, it's time to get rid of them. A plastic bag has a lifespan of 20 minutes and takes decades to degrade. It's time to use cotton bags instead, or paper bags if you go shopping for your groceries. If you have an option of having a can of Coke or a bottle of Coke, you should buy the can, because most cans are actually made out of recycled cans. Because what's also interesting is plastic can't be recycled to make more plastic bottles, if that makes sense. So you can recycle plastic to be used to make different types of things, but a plastic bottle can't be recycled and then made into another plastic bottle. But cans, that can actually happen. So just keep that in mind next time that you go out and you use plastic, that bottle caps and plastic bottles and these things actually do get picked up by animals, especially bottle caps, because they get confused for food that they can eat. So keep that in mind. Please recycle your plastic. Now, I'm going to field questions from the class that's watching in Canada, and then I'll also be here to answer any live questions. So if anyone wants to join in on the chat session and ask me a question there, I'll be happy to help you. But if you're going to tune out for the lesson now, please remember that if you want me to call your classroom and have a Q&A with you, that you're welcome to adopt a penguin with SANCCOB. You can go to our website, www.sanccob.co.za. SANCCOB is spelled SANCCOB, and you'll definitely help us, because every adoption goes towards saving another one of the endangered African penguin. Right, so if you're tuning out, thanks so much for watching.